Hello, my fellow gamers. Welcome back to Comfortable Gaming. And in today's video, we're doing Forza Horizon 5. Our first impressions. Is this game worth the hype? Is it a brilliant Forza game again? Is it not? And what did I encounter and my differences with the game so far? So, with further ado, let's just get into it. So straight away, the game got really good reviews everywhere. People are saying it's contender for the game of the year. Looks amazing and all that. It's got really huge praise, and if you bought the premium edition, you could have played the game earlier. Now the first thing is I jumped in and did quality mode between performance mode. Now I messed around with this a little bit, and quality mode does look really good, but after playing at performance mode at 60 frames per second, I just feel like I'm racing in mud at 30 frames per second. Even though the game does look better, but it's not such a drastic increase to graphics. Certainly you can notice the difference, but at 60 frames per second, the driving and everything just seems a lot more smoother and a way better experience than, let's say, playing the game at quality mode at 30 frames, locked at 30 frames per second. So that's a big thing to get into. And first of all, you jump in and you start exploring the world. They give you what you need to be doing and where you need to be going, and kind of just explaining the game probably for new players and things like that, and kind of what's going on. And you kind of have your own story and things like that, which is cool, and character customization, and you pick all of that and you jump straight into game, and they give you a few cool cars straight away to jump into. Then you choose between a Chevrolet and the new Supra, and I think a Ford Bruno, and for like off-road and stuff. So, but you get all three cars anyways. So those are the first steps, just explaining the world and how things work, which is quite fair. I think I've noticed if you're a new player and you haven't played Forza before, it is a big thing. Now, coming back to the question and the title of this video, is this game worth it? Is it worth the hype? Is it really that good? So, all in all, my first impressions, I generally think the game is great. And if you're a new Forza player, this is really a straight away buy and play the game. It is fantastic. Graphically looks great. There's insane amount of cars. And if you never played Forza, it's the best racing game, in my opinion. And unless you were looking for something more simulator game, more serious like Forza Motorsport, then that might be for you. But this is more of your arcade mixed with a little bit of... It's not so arcadey as Need for Speed, but it can be at times. So it's a great mixture of everything, and the world is excellent as always. Now, before I ramble on too long, I just want to point out the difference that people should know. And is this game a 10 out of 10? Yes, in some aspects, but at the same time, I wouldn't put it as a 10 out of 10. Someone who's come from Forza Horizon 4, and especially for players who played all the Forzas, I jumped straight into this game, and I couldn't really see the difference besides the location that I'm playing, and the graphics a little bit better than Forza Horizon 4. Now, it's very much a carbon copy of what you do in the game, how the races work and things, and that's one of my first negatives I will have with the game. I mean, I'm really nitpicking at things, so I'm not saying there's a lot of major things, but these are the things you should consider. And just my thoughts and opinions and first impressions with this game is it does feel extremely similar to Forza Horizon 4. To everything you do is pretty much like copy and paste besides the location. And now I heard a lot of people say to me, it's boring and what, people who bought it earlier and found it a little bit frustrating because they're getting bored too quickly. I haven't encountered this problem because I've been loving the game, and the more I play it, I'm loving Forza again because it's just an amazing series. But it does for me, it does hinder the game and the experience a little bit. There isn't anything drastically so new. There's a lot of new features, a couple of new cars. Now we'll get into the car stuff as well just now. And there's new events and new things to do. There's Eliminators back. So there's some things that people loved from the previous game that should have stayed, obviously, and they are in Forza Horizon 5. But that's one of the things, I think the major thing I found with this game, that everything else is really good. It's just, I found it very, how to say, it's too similar. Like, I'm not feeling it's such a newer experience jumping from a game. it's not like COD that you get a new COD every year, but the reason people play COD so much is because the gameplay is still excellent. I mean, even the new Vanguard, I'm not gonna play it. I'm not really interested in it. But for example, it's got good gameplay mechanics, and that's what always hooks people is the familiarity, and just the overall gameplay experience is always good. And that's the same with Horizon games. It's especially the last three, and especially now 4 to 5. It's extremely similar. So, but I mean, why break anything or change anything drastically when it really works well? I mean, if you change things too drastically, you will get a lot of people who are fans of this game who will hate it. There will be small percentage people who will like it. Then there'll be people, if you didn't change anything, will criticize why we didn't change anything. I feel like I'm playing the same game, and I don't want to be that critical person who says that it feels that way. But to a certain degree, it can feel very similar, and not that it's a bad thing. It just change a few little things like the icons in the menu and things like that, just to make it feel fresh. But that's again nitpicking the small things. Other than that, game runs really well. The second thing I have a little bit of a critique is the cars in the game. Now we are getting a lot of new cars, but we also getting a lot of pretty much the same cars we had in the same game, which is fine to transfer over. But for example, we don't have the new M3, the new M4, the G80 M3. I mean, it's very cool we get in like the Project One and cars like that. The Rimac is in the game and things like that. There's a lot of new cars, but there isn't that many, and it doesn't feel, again, going back, it doesn't feel as fresh as compared to Forza. Now, again, with Forza over time, with Car Pass and things, we are probably gonna pay for new cars that are coming out, which I'm obviously not the biggest fan of. But at the same time, we will be getting probably new cars down the line, and I think they did it that way. Same as Forza 4, it started with a lot of cars that people felt missing, and I found Forza Horizon 5, there's still a lot of cars that need to be added, but they are still there, some of the major cars that most people won't miss. When Forza Horizon 4 came out, there was a lot of cars that really needed to be in the game. And in this game, there's just a couple of offs in there that I consider should be there, to some classics, but mostly just the newer modern cars that are coming out now I feel are a little bit lacking. As a new game, you want to play the newest modern cars that are coming out. I mean, like the new Countach that got announced by Lamborghini, that would have been like a cool concept car in the game to be in the game. Maybe they couldn't get rights for that game or things like that. So that's a small critique that will get brushed over time as the game goes on, and new cars will be added. And I mean, there's already cars you can't buy in the auto show that you have to unlock to certain events, which is already out in the game as it was in Horizon 4, which is cool, and I'm happy with that. And the third thing, is just your character, kind of, when you like, this is really a nitpicking, I'm just really nitpicking, this is just what I found, my first impressions with the game that I found. You get only 2 voice options of a male or a female, and obviously you unlock clothing and stuff for your character, but your character feels very not really in the world, and he has more dialogue than he did in Horizon 4, but he's kind of useless in a way. It doesn't really matter, and why put it if you're not really going to use that feature too much? So for me, that's a little bit, if I'm really had to critique that, but again, at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter, and maybe I'm just nitpicking at the little things, because to be honest, now getting on to the good things, there's really hard to pick this game apart about. Besides it's just feeling really similar to Horizon 4, to whatever you do, but I mean, it is a Horizon game, and I don't want it to change so much, because this recipe works. This game is absolutely fun. It's like an MMO racing game, and you unlock cars, do dailies to unlock certain things. It's a hell of a lot of fun that will keep you busy endlessly. And if you're like a new Horizon player who's never played these games, this is definitely, get it straight away. If you have Game Pass, install it, play it straight away, buy it straight away. It's one of those games that are just gonna be awesome for the next 2-3 years, awesome straight away, and it's really fun already, and I'm already getting back hooked into Forza. Do I wish some things were a little bit better? I mean, no game comes out perfectly, and I think people complain a little bit too much about things, and I'm just giving my opinion of finding it quite similar. I wanted a little bit to feel a little bit more fresher than the previous game, because I've recently played Forza Horizon 4. I've never played Horizon games until I moved to Xbox now, and I never played until I got it came to PC, obviously. So I'm quite new to the franchise, but not so new, because I played the hell out of Horizon 4. So I'm kind of in the middle of things. So I'm not such an old veteran, but I'm not such a noob or new to these games. So that's the only thing that for me was a major thing that felt a little bit just pretty much the same. But again, like I said, I'm nitpicking really at such small things. But the good things in the game, there's a lot of good things. There's so much to do in this world. There's cool new little modes. Like I said, Eliminator's back. Graphically, the game is absolutely stunning, guys. Like, it's such a beautiful game. Even in performance mode where you play at 60, I do find the game to run a lot smoother, obviously, at 60. I mean, that's a no-brainer, but it runs better and it feels better. But you're not dropping so much in fidelity and view if you're going to 60. Now, you will notice the difference on the Xbox Series X and stuff and Series S if you go to quality mode over performance mode, going to lock in at 30 frames per second, like I said at the beginning of the video. But I just find the game in racing just feels better at 60, and going for that bump up to better FPS is better overall than going for that bump for better quality looking of the game. The graphically, it is a difference, but it's not such a major difference. But unless you really want finer details, then it still looks amazing either or. It's just what you prefer. I just prefer my games to run smoother, and that's just my preference. I think most people will prefer playing at 60. But all in all, Mexico looks fantastic. The area is very detailed. The off-road races are fun again, and there's a lot of new things that I still need to explore, but there's still a lot to do. So I'm not getting really bored. If you played Forza Horizon very, very recently, like I say maybe a month ago before this game, like religiously, then it might feel a little bit. I've done this just recently, but it feels very fresh, and it is what it is. It's the same game, but it's just really good. And is it worth the hype, guys? Is the reviews right? You know, people reviewing the game and giving all sorts of impressions. Now that the game is officially out for everybody, not just people who bought for Premium and people who got sponsored to sponsor the game. My first impressions, opinion, it's still the best racing game you can get. Offering just amount of sheer content you can do. Feels like an MMO racing game. And just the sheer volume of cars, details in the game, the racing feels great. The tuning feels great to each car, the way you can customize your own tunes. If you learn a little bit, spend a little bit of time tuning the finer details in the game, same as the previous game, is excellent. The world is excellent. It's just a fantastic game all around, and people have hyped it up, but I think it's lived up to its hype. It's a fantastic racing game, probably one of the best racing games of all time, and the series continues to be really great. And I'm really loving Forza Horizon 5, and I've been loving this series ever since I got into it, and it's definitely worth for someone who's never played these games. Definitely pick it up, play it, get it on Game Pass, buy it, whichever way you want to do it. It's really worth it. And again, thank you guys for watching. These were just my thoughts, first impressions, and if this game has lived up to the hype now that it's been released for everyone, and it's a really fantastic game. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us on this channel. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.